Okay, so look, I gotta be honest here. I have a decently invested account. I'm not saying, hyper invested into anything. I haven't invested heavily into any of my respective DPSs. If I'm going to Anby here, the most I have is her respective potential. This is her ratio. My Yixuan, C0. Alice, C0. All these characters do have their respective signature weapons, don't get me wrong. I built miHoYo like 2 weeks ago, and I do not like Astra. She is not being invested into. She does not have her signature. She would never get her signature. I'm replacing her with Shinatsu. With that being said, I do, like to partake in certain game modes, such as Deadly Assault. I do invest into characters I think are cute, like Qingyi, like Fufu, like Nekomata, and Koleda, and one day Xiao. But with that being said, I hate Shiyu defense. Like, look, Deadly Assault, it's hit or miss. You get your 6 stars, you leave. Who cares about 9 stars, whatever. I understand you can push further if you want, but like, no. I liked Shiyu defense better when it had multiple floors. I think it was, up to 7, 8, kind of like Genshin's Abyss. I hate this. This suppression is glorified Deadly Assault because it is not necessarily based on can you kill the enemy. It is not necessarily based on do you have the proper team for the enemy. It is not necessarily based on do you know how to play the game. It is based off can you kill the enemy A, how fast can you kill the enemy B, and how front-loaded is your damage. Because if we're looking at certain characters, or just a mechanic in general, back-loaded damage doesn't work. You have to front-load it to get rid of the first wave. That's going to be these bulky intimidators and bulky enforcers. That's wave 1. Wave 2 is the actual boss. The problem is, you don't have the ability to build up your ultimate gauge or your decibels with these respective characters or these respective enemies, and then hold off into the boss. Because the longer you take here, the less points you're getting for your damage on the boss. Even if you kill the boss, and I've killed the boss a couple of times before, if you don't kill the boss within a certain amount of time, you will not get enough points for the respective ranking. Hypothetically speaking, let's say I go here. Hypothetically speaking, if we're taking a look at this boss here, I got an S rank. The problem with this is, no matter what, let's say hypothetically I got S, S, B, or even B, B, S, or just all A's and a B. This doesn't matter because it is based off the lowest ranking you have. These two could be S's. If this is an A, I get an A. For those of you who don't understand the issue with that, it is the exact opposite of how the rest of Shiyu defense works. All of this works with the concept of you can have, we're not talking about that one. All of this works with the concept of you can have one team that's really fast, another team that's a little bit slower, as long as you preserve the time on one end. If I clear off super quickly on team 2, my team 1 can take longer and vice versa. This doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how quickly I got to S because I didn't get to A quick enough here, so I didn't get to S. Your entire scoring is based off how much damage you do and how quickly you deal it, not necessarily do you know how to properly position your units to where you have the comfort on the other end. Your weakest team doesn't have flexibility anymore. And Deadly Assault is the opposite. Even the squad building guide here, which is a feature, I guess, needing 3 teams is awful. Now, my best team is obviously my Aftershock team. I don't care about either one of these. And we're not talking about my anomaly. I'm not an anomaly account, so we ignore that. But in Deadly Assault, 2 teams, 2 really good teams, or even 3 teams and a half-assed one in the middle like this can work because your only requirement to get the maximum amount of gems is 6 stars. However you can get it. 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, whatever. Needing 3 fully invested teams to get the gems you previously got in Shiyu defense, not because, oh, the boss is difficult, but because the game inherently wants you to have higher investment, sucks. But let's say they want to keep this. How could they improve it? Well, it's simple. This buff here, the crit damage increase while in Ether Veil state, the electric and fire damage bonus, and the sheer damage increase. Just make one generalist buff. Because you're already taking me having 3 teams for 3 separate bosses. We already have the resistances and weaknesses of respective enemies. On top of that, you have buffs that specifically want me to have this specific character or this specific archetype. I need sheer damage for this. Guess what? That's Rupture. Here, okay, you want Anby's team. Or alternatively, Anomaly. Here, okay, Ether Veil. What did I see here? You have Lucia and you have Yeshinguang. Because Xiao is putting it in, but let's be honest here, depending on the archetype you're using, you aren't getting any value out of it. It just sucks to have restricted buffs on top of more team investment, on top of no change to the rewards, and an already implemented weakness system. And as much as I can complain about HSR, at the very least, the vast majority of characters have methods of getting around weakness, either implanting weakness with SW, or Firefly implanting her own weakness, or just ignoring resistances like Fei Zhao and Acheron, or ignoring resistances itself for the specific element like Casterus, or Phynon. I believe Phynon does it. I don't have him. I don't know. We already have archetypes like Ether Veil that aren't even used for the specific archetype archetype they're meant for. Lucia gives you Rupture Ether Veil. Ether Veil was meant to be meant for a Rupture. Now it's for whatever they feel like, and the idols are going to use it. Aftershock was follow-up attacks. But now we have characters who just do Aftershock for funsies. It is inherently more annoying for lists and low gain, on top of already restrictive combat, and in my opinion, at least, and you can disagree, I understand you might, a game state that is so unsure of itself, I have no way to gauge characters. Oh, you guys released Anby. Great, wonderful, she should be strong, right? Okay, no, she's bad. Well, okay, that's fine. She'll get fixed later on. She doesn't get a rerun. Cool, whatever. Okay, she got buffed. Wonderful, she's better now. Okay, she got buffed again? Sure, I guess. In an effort to counter Miyabi, they have screwed over every ice agent. I don't care if it's Miyabi. I don't care if it's Yatari. I don't care if it is Ellen. You can buff Ellen all you want. If you're continuously screwing her over in the meta, it doesn't matter how many buffs you give her. It still sucks. You released a character whose entire archetype is based around buffing the aftershock damage she does, so low on-field time, and restoring you a small portion of your ult. And then immediately said, okay, but what if the next stun will just give you a free ultimate? How do you feel about that? And then we have this guy over here who had a whole mechanic that they did nothing with and is forgotten about now because he's also ice, also is in a mechanic that's forgotten, and subsequently is a guy character, so let's be honest, he's not going to be good for very long. I don't know. These are weird. I just wanted to rant about Shiyu defense. Tell me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you next time. Consider becoming a channel member.